Planning Director from Mayor Billy Canoy dated January 9, 2013, submitting for Council's confirmation the appointment of Ms. Bobby Jean Leithead Todd as Planning Director, waived, GREDC.
Ms. Eoff.
Move to approve Ms. Bobby Jean Leithead Todd as Planning Director.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Leithead Todd. Now it's good afternoon. Would you like to begin by making any opening comments?
I was just looking around and thinking back, and I was looking at Councilmember Ilagan and thinking that when I was his age, I was more interested in my tan and paddling canoe, and just how many years have passed. But appreciate the mayor's confidence in me and reappointing me, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Leithead Todd. Mr. Kern?
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Chair. Through my time in the Planning Commission, I've gotten to know BJ, and we did not necessarily agree on various permits that would come through, and I definitely was a pain in the behind at times, but I appreciate it, though, as it never turned personal. We would do our thing, we'd go at it, we'd figure it out, we'd come to compromise, and after that it was all good, and it's always been good. You go to the Planning Department, it's very well run, the staff there is great, working with the staff with the Planning Commission, long range planning, everybody in there has just been really, really great to work with. I think you've been a great planning director. Really look forward to continuing to work with you, and I fully support you as our planning director. And thank you for all of your service. You too are a long-time public servant. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. Mr. Onishi?
Hey, Mr. Chair, thank you. Bobby Jean, thank you very much for all your support, for the past 4 years that I've been on the council, and giving me all that knowledge about how planning works, and how development gets done. But also, like I got to echo again, like about your open door policy, but also with your staff, with Mr. Hayashi being there before, and then now you have Darren Arai. I mean, poor Darren, every time I send him emails, but you guys always respond back, and meeting with you, and then how you educate me, and that's what I appreciate, and I look forward for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Onishi. Mr. Ilagan?
Director, thank you for sharing that comment. And all I gotta say is, when I'm your age, I hope I won't be sitting there. I hope I'll be looking at the sun, taking a tan, and paddling my canoe. But I do want to say thank you for working with me, because as you well know, there's a lot of issues that regards to planning in Puna, and you've been very helpful, and I really appreciate that. And keep doing a great work as a planning director, and you have my full support.
Thank you, Mr. Ilagan.
Thank you. Mrs. Poindexter?
Yeah, I've not had the opportunity to work with you in this position that I am in now. However, I'd like to say that in the months that I have been here, I've so appreciated the communication by emailing, always keeping me informed of what's going on that affects me and my community. So thank you for that, and I am supporting you in this position. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Poindexter. Ms. Eoff?
Thank you. I'd like to support Ms. Leithead Todd. I would like to, in the future, flesh out what some of the problems are with support for the CDPs, because I know that's become a sensitive subject. So I hope we can have further conversations about that. But I'd also like to thank you for the updates on the status of bills in the legislature and bringing those to our attention. I found that really helpful. So thank you for your dedication to public service.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Eoff. Ms. Wille?
Hi, Bobby Jean. Appreciate you in many ways. I have some concerns, and again, I think one of them is just strengthening the long-term planning and looking at cumulative impacts. And this is not so much to you personally or your directorship, but again, support for more staff or more leadership. I think your background I see is more like mine as an attorney, not long-term planner, and your deputy is also an attorney, not long-term planning experience or education. And I think that this is, in my mind, what's so important at this point in our history is to move from what we need and what is needed on a day-to-day, ad hoc, case-by-case basis to really looking long-term, our future. And I think that the group that came over here this morning from Waikoloa sort of epitomize those issues, or that need for a holistic approach. And as you're aware, the number of developments that are at different points in Waikoloa, or the PUDs that have just been approved, this Waikoloa Malka, looking at these things and how do they all work together. So again, I would support whatever you need in terms of additional staff, additional training, additional knowledge. And again, so I stand behind you. I would love to see more long-term planning efforts. Second, just as on the CDP, I feel very strongly. I was on that steering committee, and while I was doing that, I also worked with and followed the Puna CDP and followed the North Kohala CDP in particular, and to some extent the Kona. And it's been a very discouraging policy, and the first obstacle is really your department and backup with Corporation Counsel, and feeling that it's okay, you can talk story, let us know what you say, but we don't have to listen, talk to the hand. And I think we really need to have a breakthrough on this, and I think there has been some of that in North and South Kohala, with now beginning to give information about upcoming developments and sharing that. But I think that the CDPs implement general plan policy. They are really a policy statement, policy branch, as we are, as the general plan, as that is, and that to have it sort of feeling stifled by sort of the executive branch, and those individuals feeling sort of really dismissed. You have to get a permission to send a letter. You have to request it. It has to be signed. It has to go out from you. Has just been very discouraging. So I ask for all your help. I know you're doing a lot right now to bring that about, but anything that we can do to make this happen as soon as possible would be great.
Mr. Chair, could I briefly respond?
Yes, go ahead.
Just on correspondence, the difficulty we've had is, one of the CDP chairs wanted to send mail from his P.O. box and receive mail at his P.O. box. We don't do that for any boards or commissions. You're a government board or commission. You're governed by the Sunshine Law, which means everything you send out officially is a public record. Therefore, it has to go out from the department. It has to be laser-fiched. When a response comes in, we have to timestamp it, and it has to be input. We don't prevent them from mailing anything out, but it has to go through the department. And that's true of the Planning Commission. It's true of any board or commission in the county. They don't have an independent P.O. box because they don't have independent staff. And we're required to keep a government record. And that's why they're attached to a department and they're serviced by a department. And that's basically what the problem is, because if he goes on vacation and he's got mail at his P.O. box, who's going to pick it up? I'm not sending somebody from the staff. It has to come through the office. And that was one of the disconnects. The other issues have probably been worked out in the agreement that we came to, that they weren't getting notice quickly enough. The bi-monthly notice of subdivisions wasn't enough time for them. So now we send out notice to the action committees at the same time that we send it out to different agencies to comment, so that they have enough time to look at it and determine whether they want to have it on their agenda. And the only interest has really been the larger projects, the PUDs, Pulko 1010, and the Waikiki in South Kohala. The other issue in Kona is pretty much being addressed through, we have 2 drafts one for subdivision code amendments and the other for zoning code amendments, which are going to be going to the Action Committee for their review. And that will take all of those items that were in the CDP that were intended to be enacted or amend those provisions through adoption of the CDP, but were not, because the county code itself says in Chapter 2 that if you're going to amend the various sections of the county code, you have to explicitly cite those sections in your adopting ordinance. And when the Kona CDP was adopted, all it said was amending Chapter 16 in the ordinance. It had nothing in that ordinance that said it was amending Chapters 23 or 25. So what you're going to have is two separate ordinances coming forward to amend 23 and 25 to implement those various elements of the CDP.
Okay, let me, I do think in terms of the correspondence, there were other issues where the person who was there felt that before even a letter was written and given to you, they needed to check with you.
Mr. Chair, point of order. This is getting into a discussion about planning department policy where we should be focusing on confirmation.
I appreciate your efforts to continue to work on these. I do want to say I think that the CDPs and the general plan trump the code provisions. But let's work on getting them to correspond. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wille. Mr. Kanuha.
Mahalo, Bobby Jean, for all the hard work that you do in this community, all your years of service, public service to this community, and I'm really appreciative for your dedication, and I fully support your nomination. I always look forward to correspondence back and forth when we have time, and I appreciate that you do it. You always send, whenever the questions we have, you always send it back as fast as you can with as much knowledge that you have, and I can get it out to the community, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kanuha. Ms. Ford.
Bobby, I want you to know I do appreciate the work you're doing. However, I probably, of anyone on this council, have the longest history with the planning department going back almost since I've been on the island. And I have to admit to some discouragement. The lack of what I perceive as a lack of support for the CDPs, permits granted. These are not building permits, but other types of permit your department handles that have caused lawsuits. PUDs that I consider to be inappropriate, and also some of the subdivisions that we see coming forward that don't have adequate protection in them for the communities. I find this discouraging. I find it really difficult to have to get up to the level of the council. These things come up to the council, and they come from a commission, and most of these things aren't addressed. And I know that the commission operates under your department's guidance. So I'm not comfortable with all of these things that I've known about for years, and I've commented on, and I've talked about, and I'm discouraged. So I just want you to understand how I'm going to be voting for that reason. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Ford, you didn't vote for me 4 years ago, but it hasn't stopped me from taking your phone calls or responding to your questions or working with you.
And I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Okay, in closing, Ms. Leithead Todd, thank you for your good work. You have my support. Thank you. Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Eoff.
Aye.
Ms. Ford.
No.
Mr. Ilagan.
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha.
Aye.
Mr. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Onishi.
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter.
Aye.
Ms. Wille.
No.
Chair Yoshimoto.
Aye.
Chair Yoshimoto, you have 7 ayes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. The appointment of Bobby Jean Leithead Todd as Planning Director is approved. Thank you.
My staff wanted to give me the lays early, and I said it would be very embarrassing if I didn't get confirmed.
Thank you. Okay, just for the public's information, we'll be taking communications 108 and 109, and then we'll be breaking for lunch. So if anyone is here for other items on the agenda, we'll be doing that.